Yes.
So, Szilvia János, Dési, a Hungarian journalist, and I try to help tonight to say everything, very important about this book, Mazel. So here is Judit Gera, Professor Judit Gera, Professor Emerita of Dutch Literature, Department of Dutch Studies.
Hello.
And
I met her, you know.
Margot van der Straten. Van der Straten, this is the pronunciation, isn't it? Okay. So my first question is, your name is Margot van der Straten, and you are a famous journalist in Belgium, but in the cover page, G.S. Margot. Who is G.S. Margot, and who is Margot van der Straten?
This was a marketing decision made by my editor in Holland and with me, just to choose for a more simple and easier pseudonym in other countries, because the pronunciation of my name Van der Straten is very hard in several countries. So in Poland, in England, in France, and so on, I am J.S. Margot. And the J.S. can be for everything. I mean, it doesn't mean real, it doesn't really mean something. It can mean anything. It can mean just say Margot. It can mean je suis Margot. It can be anything.
Okay, so as a journalist, you are Van der Straten, and as a writer, you are Margot. G.S. Margot.
For this for this book, because it's not my first book. I have 5 other novels. So I'm always Van der Straten, but this one is an international success. And that's why we decided this, because several editors had problems with my name. Especially, yes, it is. But
I want to buy a new book for Miss Van der. It's easier to say a Margot book, please.
Yes, because many people here in Holland even, they say you write Van der Straten in 3 words, so you have to go and look in the bookshop with the letter S, because there they just put you with the S from Straten, and in Belgium you are with the V, and many people say Verstraten. It was a big problem with my other books already, and that's why we decided this.
Okay. And my other short question, you will understand me because you are a journalist also, so I not ask you, is it a true story or not, because it's not a very funny question. So I ask you, tell me the phone number of Schneider family by heart.
I still know it.
Because you wrote this book.
I still know it by heart.
I call the Schneiders, and I know by heart the phone numbers.
I know it. But I'm not going to tell you because it's not their real name, Schneider. They don't. I had to make them anonymous by using other names and also by changing small decorative elements. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but just to protect their own privacy, because we are talking about a religious Jewish family who did not give permission for me to write this book, who did not know I was going to write a book. So my conscience told me it was necessary. I protected them. But to answer your question, is it a real story? It is not an invented story, but it's a story from 30 years ago. So as a journalist, of course, I know that it's impossible to rewrite a dialogue that has happened 30 years ago. Of course, it's a literary transcription of the atmosphere, of the discussions, of the conversation. It's not possible to go back to the Margot I was 30 years ago. So of course you have to balance this, but it is based on true facts, on true people, and so on. But it's literary nonfiction.
Of course, it's not a record, not a criminal record or something.
No, and also it is written like a novel. I mean, there is a sense of urgency in it. There are many details in it, because as a journalist, this is also one of my qualities. When you really interview someone, and I'm from the written press, you are from the radio, but even the radio is exactly the same. If you really want to interview someone, you have to put a character there. You're not just asking questions. You have to go into this personality. You have to make this personality real to your listeners and to my readers. This is how I wrote this novel, of course. Father Schneider is completely different from Jakob, from the girl from Elzira. I did create characters because I am a writer. So that's the fiction part of the nonfiction, if you understand what I mean. The way of writing, it's my pen, and the way of looking, it's it's. I don't think someone else could have written this novel like this 30 years after it had happened.
Okay, I will ask about it also. And Judit, you are a professor of the Holland literature, and you translated a lot of books and wrote a lot of articles about the Holland literature, for example. What do you think? Is it a good book, or just an average, or a little bit higher, or what do you think? Because you can compare.
I can compare, but it's extremely difficult to say something about the quality of the book in the presence of the author, of course. But,
very polite answer.
but I really loved this book. I loved to translate it, and I think it's a very well written book, and it is in a way a very typical Belgian book.
What it means, Belgium?
Yes, Belgium is a very colorful country with 3 nationalities, 3 official languages, and a lot of migrants.
Sorry. Which is the third? I know the first and the second maybe, but I don't know what
German, Dutch, French, and German. Yes. And it is a very interesting state. It has I don't know how many parliaments. I lost.
6.
I lost. Yes, 6 parliaments and it is a very complicated country, but it is a very open country with very, very many migrants and other ethnicities. So I think this book is in a way a mirror of Belgian society. So I loved it because of the diversity it shows.
But I also think, Judith, because you were in Antwerp, you know, the visibility of the Hasidic Jews, especially in Antwerp, is very, very present. But it is very hard to get in contact with Hasidic people. And I think because you translated in Antwerp too, I can imagine that my book was interesting for you as well to just go beyond just the costumes, the traditional clothing, the...
Yeah, I had the honor to translate part of the book in the Antwerp Translators House. And the Translators House in Antwerp is in the middle of the Jewish district. Yes. And then if I went out of the house and I saw immediately those figures Margot is writing about. So it was a dream. You really cannot imagine how interesting it was to meet those people living there, walking up and down in those very strange dresses, and you saw how closed they were. This is a very closed society, and they never look at you if you meet them on the street. They just go. Yes. And on the other hand, they are very modern because they use the mobile phone and.
But never smartphone. If you look at a Hasidic or a Haredi, never use a smartphone because it's not kosher. Just the old style mobile phone kosher.
Yeah, well, I couldn't see that, but I enjoyed them calling, and they were always very busy. I don't know with what, because they were always they went in a very, very fast tempo. And as if they always had to do something, but I don't know what they had
They always have to study. They don't have to lose time in the real world, you know. They have to go to the spiritual world, to the shul, to the synagogue. They have to go pray. Just walking is losing your time.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, but they are the Hasidic, and it's not a Hasidic, it's an Orthodox family, but not a Hasid family.
Yes, yes, but
It's a big difference because they have not shramlis and black suits and so on, so on. So it's a two different part of the
yes.
society. I think. Can I say it's not just a novel, a good novel, but it's a school book, a textbook. If you want to know something about the Jewish everyday life, okay, let's go read the Mazel Tov, the book of Margot's book Mazel Tov, because you say a lot of practical information about what means it Shabbat, or what means it, I don't know, a marriage, a Jewish marriage, what means it kashrut, and so on, so on.
You know, János, in Belgium, I have won the prize of the best religious book in 2017. This was the year it was published in Belgium, the original version. And the strange thing is, like you say, it is a book about religion, but I don't mention any psalm. I don't mention any quote from the Old Testament. It's only the religion is in the daily life. It's in the structure of what they eat, how they get up, when they pray, how they go to school, who they meet, who they talk to. But there is no religion in the way of the books are there. Just I described them, but there is no texts. Religious text in the book, not even one sentence, and still it is a very religious book. And that's exactly how the Jewish life is structured. It is a practicing religion. You have to practice it from the moment you get up till the moment you go to sleep, and even when you sleep, you know.
Yes, I think the most of the people know how the Jewish live it from the musical of Fiddler on the Roof. What is an average Jewish life? Okay, it's in the ancient regime in the 19th century in Russia. It's a little bit different, but how lives a Jewish family watch Fiddler on the Roof. Is it familiar to you how live these people? So, or you learn a lot about from this book? Sorry.
What do I learn? What about?
I ask you that you learn something from this book, or you knows everything about this Jewish life. So it just was a text for you.
When I went to this family, I didn't know anything about Judaism. I wasn't even particularly interested in Judaism. I wanted to just teach the children. And maybe that is an interesting perspective of my book and makes it different from the example you give, and also from the movie, the series Unorthodox and so on. The fact that I give a glimpse of the inside world of the Jewish community in Antwerp, the religious Jewish community, but not from an insider who want to break out. I just give it as a complete outsider. I'm a Goite. And also I was not very interested particularly in Judaism. It is through the friendship with especially the girl that more and more the world opened to me, the people opened to me, and I opened to them, you know. So I learned from other books, but at that time, you know, when I was 20, I was really busy with myself as well. You know, I was trying to pay my studies. I had to study. I was living with a man. I had a social life. I wanted to be more adult than I was really, you know. So I was more busy with myself than with the strange habits and the millions of religious laws, or the 613 religious laws of the Jewish family I was going to. And I think that made it possible for me to stay there for 6 years, just because I had this attitude, you know. It came little by little. And it was very interesting, and it has changed me, of course.
And Judith, I think if we find a family in Hungary, an Orthodox family, not today, but maybe in the 30s in Budapest, maybe they lived in the same way like this family. Of course, they had no car or TV or I don't know, yes. But in Budapest or in I don't know where, in Berlin or in Galicia, lived the same way like this family, isn't it, Judith?
Yes, I think so.
Sorry, I ask Judith now.
Judith, you just go on.
Sorry.
Yes, I think so. I wasn't also very much acquainted with this Jewish way of life, at least not with the Orthodox Jewish way of life. But I think it is quite international. I think they have the same ideas about how they should live. So that there must have been not much of a difference between.
No, that is the strength of the Judaism as well, and that is a paradox at the same time. You know, when you in my book I describe how protected the children are educated, how they went to school in the Jewish district. Everything was only in the Jewish district. The youth movement, everything was only there. They never left the Jewish district at that time. At the same time, when Elzira, the girl that I assisted for 6 years, from when she was 12 till she was 18, at her 21st, she marries, or 22nd, she marries with a New York modern Orthodox Jewish man. She starts to live in New York. She's so cosmopolitan, she's more international than I am, you know, while I think that I can just manage and I travel, I am, but this is the paradox. At the same time, you can have a very protected education, and at the other side of the story, you can just have this, just continue exactly the same life wherever you go. If it's Budapest, if it's Prague, if it's Warsaw, it doesn't matter.
It's one huge community.
Yes, and that is the community, and that is the strength of the community life as well.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting for me how they use the word. For example, you mentioned gaite. My grandma used the word shikse.
Yes.
Shikse, this is the Yiddish way. Or Yom Kippur, the New Year. My grandma said Yom Kippur, or Rosh Hashanah, or Rosh Hashanah. So it's
small differences.
It's small differences, but somebody says you in Hungary, Rosh Hashanah is not a kosher Jew because kosher said Rosh Hashanah. Sorry.
But even in Antwerp, you will have a kind of, I won't use the word separatism, but you will, the Jewish community knows all these little differences in dialects that you mention now. And just by hearing it, they know where you come from. And they just, so even within the community, you have small communities, of course. You have the Jewish coming, the Ashkenazi, you have the Sephardim coming from the eastern of Europe, coming from the Western, coming from, you know, and I don't hear these differences a little bit, but I mean, at my ears, I'm not used to hear Yiddish every day or to hear Ivrit, Hebrew every day, but it's their they know it's very, I like it when they just, but even by the dishes you eat, they can just say, I went with Judith, I went to one of the Jewish restaurants in even when you see a Jewish man or woman eat a certain or order a certain dish, you can quickly know, is she Ashkenazi, is she, I learned.
Yeah, that's what I loved in your book. One of the things that you dismantle the cliches of Jewry. You show the diversity of this community. That Jewry does not exist. There are certain types of Jewry and certain groups, and they differ from one another, just as other groups differ from one another, and that's wonderful. And I enjoyed this visit to the office, to the restaurant, because we began to talk with the men who were serving us, and it turned out that they were of Hungarian origin, of course.
Yes.
So they had lecho and they had sholet, and they everything.
Sholet is all over the Jewish world.
Yeah, but also the turtled kaposta. I don't know what turtled kaposta is in English. Stuffed cabbage.
Stuffed cabbage, yes.
This is also very, very, Transylvanian, actually.
Yes, I think it's Transylvanian. Yeah. And for example, Mr. Schneider told my family roots from Tatatatam and Hungary.
Yeah, sure.
But how? We don't know. because when he told his story about what's happened under the Shoah and so on, it's no mention who was Hungarian or when or how, but you mentioned, he said, my roots from Hungary.
But most of the Jewish people in Antwerp have roots in Hungary or in Poland, almost 90%.
Or German or Russia, I think. No?
Yes, or of course, Ukraine, you know.
Yeah.
But most of them are coming from Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the whole line, you know.
Yeah.
Hoffi is the man that the restaurant man, Hofman, he still speaks Hungarian.
He talked to me in Hungarian. Yeah. I was really surprised. And then he called to another man.
You were touched.
He talked also Hungarian. So there were two.
But if you travel up and walk, for example, in Jerusalem, in the streets, you hear a lot of people speak Hungarian. Some of tourists, some of immigrants, and some of Jews. Your story, when it's 57-52, and now it's 57-81, so about 30. It's from 30 years ago. Now it's changed the situation, or the same when about 30 years ago was?
Which situation you mean?
The daily life, these families,
the biggest change is that the diamond industry is not doing so well anymore than it used to do. So the economical power of the whole diamond sector, in which almost 80% of the Jewish family were working, is not there anymore, you know. So you had the invention of the labor diamond, so you can just, how do you say it, artificial diamond. And also it's the whole industry went to Thailand and to other cheaper countries for the handworking. So
or Tel Aviv, maybe in Tel Aviv, a huge diamond stock exchange, if I remember.
The exchange maybe, but the whole, I mean, the handwork, all the things from a rough diamond to come to a beautiful diamond, all these jobs inside were all done in Antwerp. Nowadays, not one is done anymore in Antwerp. So that means a huge difference of the middle class Jewish people. And the biggest difference from 30 years ago and now is that the middle class is leaving and has left Antwerp, and that you will see still that Hasidic Jews are getting more and more. So the population is changing. Antwerp is becoming more religious. The Jewish district is becoming more religious than it was 30 years ago.
More religious.
Yes, you have more Hasidic, and the modern Orthodox are leaving. They go to or the States, or to Israel, or to Great Britain, or to other countries. But you will see that, like the whole family I was teaching, only one stayed in Antwerp because she married a Dutch guy, you know, she came back, blah, blah, blah. But the 3 children, 3 from 4, they married internationally and they left. And they also left because economically Europe is finished. That's how when you go where there is business, you don't stay in Europe these days. And during all the centuries, Jews go where business is, because I don't know if I have to explain the whole history, but because they were excluded for so many jobs in centuries and centuries ago, that their skills they have a certain, how do you say it, een vijfde zintuig, Judit, a fifth sense to know what's happening and to.
It's not just a prejudice, but of course a positive prejudice, because a lot of Jews lives in poor countries. Look me, so I think it's just a prejudice. The Jews always know where is the good business and follow it.
But now we are talking about. Now we are talking about religious communities. You know, they are. Very close, they are strong, they're just that's a difference. I think you are a secular or not?
Yes, I am.
Then we are talking complete different story, of course.
Yes, and I think for those Orthodox people, home is another concept than
Of course.
for us. Home is where they can make money and where they can live a good
But there
life.
is a lot of poverty also with the
I know, but what I wanted to say is that just because they are an international community, they can feel at home anywhere.
Yes,
It's not criticism. It is just a fact. I think that
I agree with you.
their home is where they feel at home with in their community, who think the same way, who have the same rituals, way of life, way of thinking.
Cool.
They don't stick to one place.
Yes, in the Jewish religion is 613 command, but I think it's more important for the tradition, and I think it's more important if you read a Talmud, it's not just the text. It's just the minority reports around the text. So Rabbi this said this, Rabbi others said that, and we don't know what you said. You said that. So it's not one command, one rule, one. It's hundreds and thousands and thousands. You do what you want. You want to what you learn from your grandfather, or I don't know, grandmother, or I don't know, or break the rule. Always break the rule, like this book. Look, stole your friend's father's car, you break the rule from the 10 Commandments. So you always break the rule.
You have to.
Yes, and it's very important. Sometimes you have to, and
yes.
It's in the everyday. This is the everyday life.
But even the father, now you give the example of the car,
Yes.
but even when the boy went to Amsterdam and he did things he wasn't supposed to do, even then I could see that the father and the mother knew that their child was breaking a rule, but at the end they were comfortable enough that it was necessary, but it was no harm was done.
Yeah.
For me, it was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
My parents would have been mad. They weren't. Yes.
Yes, but of course you also. I mean, the I person in the book, the I character.
Me.
You okay? You also broke the rules because you wrote the
opstellen. I know.
The opstellen. What is it? Homework. You wrote the homework
yes.
for Yaakov, and
yes, and
you
sold it, and you sold the homework
for the others. This is so brilliant. I love that.
But I'm not religious.
Yes, but as you said, the Jewish knows where is the good business. If you can sell your homework, okay, do it because it's a good business. The diamond a little bit.
But I think it was Margot's idea.
It was me.
It was Margot's idea. So it's always against the cliches. It is just her who said, okay, you can sell it, but I want my part of it.
Yeah, 2/3 of mine.
Yeah.
2/3 of mine.
Yeah.
And of course, you just imagine this family, but you have an origin one. Are they read this book? When it's published first time in Belgium in Dutch languages.
Yes, they all have read the book, and I must say, in the beginning, when it wasn't a success, they were more positive about it than they are now. And the reason is not the book itself. The reason is that more and more people know it's them I am writing about. So it is more because the book is giving them an exposure that they didn't want than it's the book, you know. But the children who are now in their 40s, so time flies, they are very happy with the book because they don't have a social life in Antwerp anymore. but the parents, their whole social history is in the city. So of course people, when they see someone or when they go to a funeral and so on, people ask, people talk to them, and that is something that they would have preferred that did not happen, to be honest. This is something they don't like to be up on the radar.
Sorry.
And I knew it, but yeah.
Sorry.
It was not, the last sentence was not very good to hear.
Could you repeat the last sentence, please?
I just said that they haven't, it was not their choice to be in the middle of a publicity. So of course I understand that they would have preferred not to have these questions from other Jewish families, for example, that, is it you? Was she with you? Is she writing about you? Mazel, you know, even when the Jewish families are very discreet towards this, they feel that they have become a subject of conversation, and that's something that they don't like, and it's because of the book, you know. So there is a role of mine, and sometimes I feel guilty about it, but not one to one, but of course it's. And maybe that's the price a good book needs. I don't know, but that's something how I try to think and to console myself, maybe. And now I'm talking about the parents. For the children, there is no problem at all.
Sylvia mentioned the rules, why that's important, and I think I like this book because it's very interesting, and I think it's very, how to say it, useful these days. How can live together people from different parts of society? How can they live with the same city, in the same country, the same world? They are very different, but they can or they have to live together. And I think it's a very, very important example what happened in this book when the Iranian boyfriend and Belgium and girl and the Orthodox Jews family, and they are all human beings, and they can live together. So I think it's a very important, and I think, I'm not sure, but what do you think about it? It's today, it's more important. And I think it's today in Hungary is a very, very, very important example.
Yes, thank you for that. And you know, I waited 30 years to write this book. I don't know why exactly. I didn't know it was worth a book, I think. But one of the reasons why I started to feel the sense of urgency and the necessity to write a book about my personal story, my memoirs about this family, is because I did feel that the polarization in society was getting stronger and stronger, and everyone was started to have a very, very convinced opinion about the other one, without even know who the other one is, how he or she lives, who she talks to, what the language, whatever, all these. And it's because I heard more and more little phrases sometimes of anti-Semitism in Antwerp, that it made me think of my story with this family was not like how I did here now. So this is one of the reasons why after so many years I started to try to write a book about this time, and it became a book, but this was really one of the reasons. And I think in what you say is that maybe I did feel consciously and unconsciously that the time was ripe to write it. It was necessary to write about this. And it is, I'm not moralizing. I'm not saying this is how you have to live. This is, sometimes we really get stuck. It doesn't work anymore. I mean, I stopped teaching them for 3-4 months because there is too much tension between us. It's difficult, it's hard, we don't find each other, the connection is gone. But when you just force yourself to continue, and when you just see the human being behind the religion or behind the gender or whatever it is, then there is a human connection, and nothing is more beautiful in life than a human connection. It is.
Yeah. And that's why I love to translate it, because I think this book is about translation. The book is about the translation of cultures. How can you translate one culture to another? And there is a possibility to translate, and translation is a possibility to understand each other.
It's interesting what you say.
It is really, and in this way, I felt as one of the characters of the book. I was a translator translating this book from Dutch into Hungarian, but all the time I had the feeling that you try to translate the Iranian culture for this Jewish family, the Iranian culture for the Belgians, because it was also not easy, this relationship between you and the Iranian guy. And then you had the gastronomy, the Iranian
I always
gastronomy.
have it.
And this also translation, huh? The way you eat. This is a translation.
It's tradition also. It's tradition.
And
What
it's
you
so
eat
wonderful.
is where you come from.
And also you speak about your childhood when you went to school in a Catholic part of Belgium, and you went to school where very many migrants, children.
Yes, it's very interesting.
Mining school.
It is so nice, so beautiful.
It's very interesting.
It is all the diversity of people in Belgium.